Good evening and welcome. We are delighted to speak with Mr. Keku Gazder, MD and CEO of Aviapro Logistics, one of the largest GSAs in India today. Thank you, sir, for joining us. We are very excited to have this conversation with Keku, sir, who has decades of experience in the air cargo logistics industry. We'd like to know from you, with the rising trade volumes to and from India, what is the role and the contribution of GSAs to this industry?
First of all, thank you, Anna, for having me over, and thanks for taking the trouble to have this interview. Over the past, I would say, a few decades now, the importance of GSAs as representatives of airlines has been steadily growing, not just in India, but across the world. And there are many advantages to that. To name a few, one of them is to have a dedicated team of professionals who look at cargo to expand their bottom line. Second is the fact that they come up with a team of ideas who would like to grow the businesses for them, especially those who are not present in the country. Thirdly, and probably the most important factor that I can see of GSAs being a representative of airlines is that they let the airlines focus on their core activity and let ancillary activities be supported by GSAs. Apart from others, I think these are the top three reasons why you would see GSAs grow more and more in representation of airlines in the country.
Thank you for those insights, Keku sir. As a veteran in this industry, I'd like to know from you today, which are the trade routes that are seeing the most demand firstly, and which categories of goods are witnessing rising demand in India?
We'll divide this answer into two parts. One is, of course, what is going out of the country, and probably what's coming in. Again, take a step back. You've seen the numbers coming out from the government on various fronts. Recently, you've seen the index of the cost of logistics being revised with a more accurate number, if I may say so, as to what the cost of logistics is. Now, one of the reasons why that's very important for all of us is investors who are planning to come into the country from abroad, investors who are in the country and planning to invest into this business have a clear idea on what the cost of logistics is. So that's part one. Part two is the routes that you are looking at. If you're looking at outbound from India, the favorites continue to be the Middle East, parts of Europe, North America, and in the APAC region. On the inbound, as of course it is more APAC than Europe and others. I don't see a major shift in the trend in this as we move forward, but what you will see is that Indian movement of goods from India will now be going into newer markets. For example, you'll find a lot of trade moving towards LATAM. You'll find Sub-Saharan Africa, West Africa as being the emerging hotspots of trade between India and these countries. May I also add that you will also see India rising in the transshipment business. So businesses that are not currently related to the country as an origin or destination, but use India as a transit point, you will see substantial volumes moved by air using the infrastructure that has been created by the government at these airports.
Wonderful. And you've touched upon this aspect of infrastructure development. Also, can you comment something about the role of technology? What kind of, over the course of your career, how have you seen the air cargo industry adopting different types of technology for efficiency, sustainability? If you can comment something on that.
There's a blunt answer and there's an honest answer. Which one do you want?
Both? One that it would be better.
Okay, so the blunt answer is that we haven't innovated as much as we should have. We seem to be innovating when we are pushed to the wall. We are not innovating proactively, and that's costing us today a decrease in volumes compared to other modes of transport. So shipping, road, rail, waterways, the other four major modes of transport are gaining in terms of capacity. Now, there are two types of innovations that I like to place ourselves in. One innovation is more towards ease of doing business as general, and a product of that would be things like digitalization, etc. While in the passenger side there has been tremendous improvement in terms of how you can book a ticket, fly. You virtually can do today a non-contact approach into the airports and fly. You don't virtually need to talk to anybody. Unfortunately, that has not taken place in cargo as yet. We need to move towards that as quickly, as rapidly as possible, so that the end customer, whoever it may be, has got the ease of doing business and focusing on the growth of his or her business more than anything else. So we are moving forward. There's no doubt about it. There has been changes, but the speed at which the change should come is not coming, and this is my opinion on it.
Speaking to you, we get the sense that you have seen this industry for a very long time, and you are also seeing air cargo trends across the world.
Yeah.
So, as an air cargo professional over this long period of time, what motivates you? What do you love most about this industry?
Two things. One, I get up in the morning, every morning, not knowing what the day is there for me. So it's always, it's not repetitive, if you know what I mean. Every day brings itself a new challenge, a new hope, a new opportunity, so that really, let's say, charges you up in the morning to face the unknown of the day. The second most important thing is, even though this industry has been there 50, 60 years or probably more, there's never a dull moment. You always see a scope to improve things. If you're familiar with the Japanese philosophy of doing business, especially the Kaizen, which is continuous improvement, you continuously try to innovate whatever you've done even the day before. And you want to see how best that can be done even better. At the end of the day, you're part of a big chain of stakeholders. And if you are not contributing to that, you're doing a disservice to not just yourself, but you're doing a disservice to the entire ecosystem. So very important for those who are passionate about this business to contribute whatever they can in whichever area they can. This is very, very critical.
It's excellent that you use this very powerful word, ecosystem.
Yeah.
And in the course of our conversation, you've touched upon these various stakeholders who are a part of this business.
Correct.
At Air Cargo India, we bring all these stakeholders together to have conversations, to exchange ideas, and to do business.
Correct.
So, what has been your experience while interacting, while participating with Air Cargo India? What does Air Cargo India mean to you and to the air cargo industry?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I've been attending almost all the Air Cargo India events since inception, and I've seen the growth over the years. To me, the Air Cargo India is symbolic of probably the Oscars or the Golden Globes in this industry. And I say that with confidence because it gives an opportunity to serious players in the industry to discuss, whether it's one-on-one, whether it is over sessions, and bring about actionable points that can be taken back to move forward. Also, over the years, this is a platform where there is interactions with senior leaders of the government on what can be the role that the government plays to improve interactions with different airport authorities, the private sector, the public sector, on what can they bring to the table and how they can support the industry. Discussion with forwarders, ground handlers, terminal operators, truckers, etc., on where do they see this business is moving forward. So at the end of the day, probably 2 days, 2.5 days of intense discussions, you come back learning something, and you come back taking forward some ideas that you can incorporate probably in the next couple of months to a year. That's how I see the Air Cargo India playing out.
Thank you for that personal perspective on Air Cargo India. This year, we are very excited because Air Cargo India begins on Valentine's Day. So, I would just like to hear from you to end this conversation. Do you love Air Cargo, and why do you love Air Cargo India?
Wow, what a question. Never had that in 34 years of my career. I actually should ask my wife about that. She's put up with me for 34 years in this business. At the end of the day, we are in this business of bringing smile to people's faces. You would notice over the last couple of years, a small package that arrives at your door through an e-commerce company lights up your smile, lights up your face in anticipation of what's inside that gift. I like to call ourselves the people who put smiles on the faces of our customers. And if you're bringing smiles on the face of the customer, nothing is more important than the love. It reciprocates back to you.
Wonderful. Thank you for those very precious words, and welcome to Air Cargo India. We look forward to seeing you there.